All right, the Erin and Jackie show here. So to give you a little bit of background, Erin and I have been compadres in crime and everything else in between for probably, gosh, what is it, 25 years or so?
Something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, she stuck by me and I've stuck by her through thick and through thin. And anyway, so here we are. A little bit of background too. Between the two of us, we probably have I don't know how many decades of experience working in that recruiting industry, Erin?
I don't know how many you have, but I have 15 plus years, so
Yeah, so I mean
at
combined
least
probably
3 decades, right? 4 decades.
so between the two of us we probably have about 3 decades plus of recruiting experience. And I don't know how many hundred people we have, or thousands maybe, of candidates that we've interviewed in our careers. And here we are at Higher Landing. So, I mean, there's been a lot of very frustrating times. And, you know, we've seen a lot. I mean, we just between the two of us, we kind of have seen what works and what doesn't work in terms of getting professionals back to work. And, you know, Erin, I don't know about you, but, you know, what is one of the most frustrating things that you hear from candidates that tell you that they're stuck?
You know, the most frustrating the most frustrating thing is that they say, I keep applying online and it's not working, and I've tried adjusting my resume and it's not working. But they're not trying to do anything except apply online. And most of the good jobs aren't even online. And I get that other methods can seem intimidating at first, but if you try, they're really not that bad.
And so then, you know, they usually, well, you teach resumes and LinkedIn. What is the one mistake that you get really frustrated with that people keep making over and over, despite your repeated attempts to tell them to do the opposite?
People rely a lot on their hard skills on their resume. And yes, your hard skills have to be on your resume, but probably the biggest frustration is they don't try to showcase who they are and how they add value, no matter how many times we say it. They think that just listing out their hard skills is going to do the trick. And the thing is, it might for an ATS, the applicant tracking system, but when a human sees it, especially a hiring manager, they have to work with you several hours a day. They want to make sure that you're someone they would want to work with, and they want to know that you're someone that's going to add value.
Right. And, you know, one of the most frustrating things that I hear is, you know, when people are looking for work, oh, I'm open to work. Well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What do you think? Oh my gosh, you never want to make somebody else do the heavy lifting that you should. Or worse yet, what don't we hear, you know, oh, I'm open to work. Yeah. What the heck does that mean?
I'll take anything. I'll do anything. But, if you're saying that in our grizzly den, for example, the grizzlies don't know how to help you at that point, because, and neither does an individual if you meet with them, because you've given them such a broad range. Like how at that point can they actually provide you guidance? Versus if you say, oh, I'm interested in working as a financial analyst in the construction industry. Then they know, oh, I know people in the construction industry, or I know, or they could at least say, oh, financial analyst, construction's a good industry. Have you thought about this or this or this? But when you just say, I'm open to anything, anything will get you nothing.
Or I'm a people person. Why should I hire you? Oh, I'm loyal. I'm hardworking. You know, I'm a good problem solver.
Yeah. I love I'm loyal and hardworking. Like anyone would ever come into an interview and say, I'm disloyal and I'm lazy. Like no one would say that. So everyone is loyal and hardworking, or at least they claim to be.
So why do they keep saying that then?
They think that that's valued, and loyalty was valued when my parents were working. It was absolutely valued back then. These days, companies don't want you leaving a couple months after you start. No, they want to invest in you, but there's no expectation of career loyalty to an employer at this point.
And another really frustrating thing that I hear, I heard this recently from some clients. Oh, you know, you have to apply for 200 jobs online just in order to get one interview.
I mean, if you want to play that game, you can, I guess, but that seems like an effort and futility. And if you do it right, um, you can bring that ratio way down. Like, don't just apply online. Even if the job is online, you got to do other things other than just submit your application. But it's still an effort and futility, because at that point, you don't know, they could have a preferred candidate already in-house. They're getting hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes with AI these days. Like, the amount of resumes that are coming in is obscene, and so they're not going through half of them. So I'm not surprised that they think they need to send that many in, because if that's all you're doing, you probably do need to send hundreds to get 1 or 2 interviews.
Right. So Erin is our resident resume and LinkedIn expert. Plus, she does a whole lot of other things behind the scenes. AI is her specialty. I'm more on the branding and marketing side. And Erin, I've got a question for you. How do you respond? I mean, from my perspective, I will tell you that a resume will not get you your next job, especially if you're a professional and in 2026. How do you respond to that?
I mean, your resume is permission to play. You still have to have a resume. Even if you're doing all the things that we're talking about, and you're having conversations with people, and you're getting noticed on social media, or especially on LinkedIn, and you're doing everything else, at some point someone's going to approach you and say, hey, send me your resume. So you're going to need it, but it's permission to play. It is not the magic bullet that is going to land you your job. And it might even get you an interview sometimes when you're applying online. Sometimes, a little fraction of the time, but you have to show up and really be able to articulate who you are, your value, how you're going to impact. You also have to pass that bull test, right? If an employer finds you not believable, understandable, or likable, they're not going to hire you.
So, I mean, you look pretty conservative now, Erin, but I know you. Behind the scenes, you're anything but. So what is the one piece of advice that you give to our clients that would probably make your typical career coach cringe?
I tell people to rely a lot less on their work history and their work experience, and career coaches typically rely heavily on that. I say, show up authentically. And I equate like a lot of the interview experience to that of going on a first date, and then maybe a second date if you're lucky, and eventually you get engaged with an offer letter and you get married.
If only it were that easy.
Yeah, I know. The dating scene, yeah. But it is very similar to that. And people don't show up as their authentic selves. They're showing up as they're so concerned about their history that they're not concerned about who they are and how they impact. The other thing that is really different in what we teach is talk less, listen more in an interview. And that is not what you're going to get from a typical career coach. We give you all kinds of tricks on how to effectively ask good questions that get them talking. But that's very different than what a career coach would.
And the other thing too that really gets my goat are, these people that just tell you, oh, you got to get out there and network. To get your next job, you just have to network. Honestly, you take the average professional who is probably leans more on the introverted side, and you tell them, oh, you just got to get out there. Well, what the heck does that mean? Going out to some event and making yourself super uncomfortable, slapping a bunch of backs, passing out business cards from whatever yesteryear. That doesn't work. You have to be strategic and you have to be proactive, and it's about having strategic conversations with people that really get them talking about themselves. And you can have those anywhere. You can have them online. You can have them in person when you're in an interview. And by the way, the other thing too, never ever assume that just because you're applying to a job online and you get an interview, that's exactly what they're looking for. In my experience, the majority of times, by the time a professional gets to that interview, the job requirements are either they've already changed or they're not really what the employer intended, because the pain points are changing so fast that by the time you applied to the role and by the time you've actually made it to the interview, already things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Their pain points have changed. I don't know. What have you found?
I think about us when we post roles. I mean, we don't post many of the roles that we hire for because we use our networks. So that just goes to show people aren't posting regularly all the time. But when we do post a role, by the time we get to an interview, stuff has changed for sure. I've never had a role that is exactly what it is on paper be the exact role you're hiring for. It may be a small change, but a lot of times it's a much bigger change. We've had it where it completely 180s from what we were initially thinking we wanted.
Well, and we've even had people come and pitch to us, and it's like, I'm not hiring. We don't need that person. And it's like somebody will say, come on, Jackie, I really think that, just go meet this person anyway. And the next thing you know, fast forward, here we are, despite the fact that we've got no budget and no apparent need, we're creating a brand new role for someone. And, that's just because somebody, say, that has come through the higher learning program, has learned enough to be able to IP us, understand what our important priority pain points are, and then present us with really powerful, innovative solutions that maybe we never thought of before, convincing us that maybe we do need them more than we initially thought. And I see this happen even in the Grizzly Den and in the job market all the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I've seen also where you think you're hiring for something. We've had that where we think we're hiring for a specific role. Someone comes in and they start talking about other things, other areas, and we go, maybe we should shift the role. So sometimes it happens on a dime in the interview. The other thing I've seen though is people that are married to that job description and they come in and they're very inflexible because they're stuck within the bounds of that. And you start asking them questions that are outside the bounds of that and they really get tripped up and they're not willing to be flexible because they're so stuck. And then conversely, I've seen the opposite where people are rolling with the punches and they're open to just having a conversation. So it's almost like go in having an overview of the job description in your head. Like you don't want to be totally blind to what the job description was, but don't be married to it.
Right.
You go in and just be open to a conversation. Treat the interview like a conversation.
And what would you say the biggest awakening, rudest awakening new clients have coming into the program that really wakes them up and makes them think twice about, wow, like I didn't realize this before?
I think it's different for everyone what their rude awakening is. I think the biggest rude awakening for a lot of professionals is that employers don't focus exclusively on your skills. Hard skills and soft skills. They also want to know who you are even beyond your soft skills, the value that you have to bring. So I think that's a shocker for a lot of people, especially people that might have come from other countries, because different countries operate differently. In North America, they're far more interested in the value that you bring. Do they want you to be able to do the job? Yeah, but I've talked to, and I'm sure you have, hundreds of people that say, I can train them to do the job, but I can't train fit and I can't train personality. And so those are more important. And so I think that's a big shock. I think the other big shock is how much work it takes to really do a good job to go to market properly. A lot of people think I get laid off or I quit my job, I slap together a resume, I throw it out, I'm gonna land a new job right away. And you know what? You may be one of the lucky few who does that, but that's not the norm. Like our program is work, but it works if you do the work. So I think most people are surprised by the amount of effort.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed that people seem to be very surprised about when they come into the program. One of the things that I always talk about is the importance of self-awareness, right? And I always say, the greatest impediment to you not landing a great job has got nothing to do with what you know or don't know about the job. It's got everything to do with what you know or don't know about yourself. And a lot of people come into the program thinking, oh, I don't need this. I know myself really well. Until they start getting into the program and start doing some of the homework and answering questions. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? You know, was there a time in your life or your career where you did something where you got into a little bit of trouble, where if the same situation were to repeat itself, you'd do it again? And you know, these are all clues to what your real value is, and to really understanding who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, how the heck is an employer? And you're not going to know where to or how to apply your value. And you know, self-awareness is such an underutilized skill that, well, a lot of people just don't teach it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually had a lady in my group coaching yesterday who said she had taken Overcoming Workforce Barriers this week. And she said, you know, I had never thought about these different barriers and how they've been impacting me throughout my career. And it was a real eye-opener. And I'm just taking this week to process it and understand how it's impacted me, and understand what I've been willing to tolerate in the past that I'm not going to tolerate moving forward, what I can work on and start changing in myself, like imposter syndrome and things like that. And, you know, what is really standing in my way? What are my barriers? And I think a lot of people aren't aware that you can do a really deep dive on yourself if you want to as you come into the program. And those that do find it extraordinarily rewarding.
Yeah, and I think the ones that struggle are those, I think that they're open to learning, but they're really quite resistant. I just look at like the last year myself. It's actually been quite a ride, as it has, I'm sure, for many of you. But let's just take AI for instance. So a little over a year ago, I was a complete neophyte when it came to AI, and very resistant. You know, very skeptical. I thought, oh gosh, that's something in the future. It's some toy, it's some passing fancy. It's gonna, you know, be a fad that'll go away tomorrow. And finally, it wasn't until Erin came to me and said, you know, Jackie, maybe you should just try this out. And I was like, I don't need that. And then she showed me what she was doing, and then I kind of got curious. And it's like, well, why don't you just, you know, show me? And I'm not very technically literate. I mean, you can ask Erin. Don't laugh. But with her patience, she managed to show me some basic prompts, and then it's like, okay, now go away and let me just play with this on my own. And you know, it wasn't until I saw the magnitude of how the tool was able to impact my productivity and improve it like 2, 3, 4, 5-fold, and help me break through, you know, creative barriers and get me unstuck when I'm trying to figure out where to start a project, for instance. It was mind-blowing. And now Erin really, I think, has been instrumental in rolling out a whole AI program for our program. And you know, what is the biggest eye-opener for you that you've seen, Erin, say in the past year since you've developed and are now teaching AI to our clients?
You know what? I've learned so much this last year too, and AI is one of those things that continuously evolves. I mean, I showed you something new yesterday that you could do with AI.
Show off.
And but I'm learning all the time too, especially from our social media guy. I mean, I'm learning stuff from him every day too with it. And I think you have to be willing to continually learn. But what I've noticed is the applications, the most shocking thing is the applications are endless. You don't want to hand over your power to AI. And I think a lot of people just go, oh, I'll let AI write my resume and write my cover letter for me and write every email I send for me. And it's not that you should give AI all your power. You still have to be a critical thinker because AI hallucinates a lot. But the amount of things you can get it to help you with, and it just, I view it as almost like a sounding board that gets those creative juices flowing sometimes, or gives you ideas that you never thought of. It's a great brainstorming tool for sure. And sometimes I don't like the way it brainstorms and I disagree with it. Other times, most of the time, it does an amazing job. So I've been amazed at just how many ways we can use it and apply it to our program and to job search.
Just, I mean, explain what you did with it yesterday, and where you scanned all of our notes from like how many hours of talking.
Yeah, we had done a staff meeting and taken a lot of notes, and I was diligently taking all the notes as we went, writing them down. I suppose I could have been typing as we went, but I didn't. I was writing them all down. And so I just opened up my trusty chat GPT and I said, hey, I'm going to turn on my video and you are going to scan these 3 pages or 4 pages or 5 pages of notes in, and you're going to transcribe them for me. And so it did that really easily. So rather than me transcribing it, and did it get 100%? No, because my handwriting is not perfect. I think it did better with mine than it did with your handwriting. But it's going to depend on your handwriting. I wonder if it can get to know your handwriting better over time. I bet it can. Anyway, it did that, but then I said, okay, go and find the themes in here and summarize it for me. And if multiple people have the same theme or the same idea, we don't need to see it 5 times. Let's summarize. And then we said, okay, well, what can we tackle? And how long will it take to tackle? What should we tackle first? What is going to take longer? What's going to have the immediate return if we tackle it first? So it was able to do all of that. And apparently, I've done this once, but you can also turn on your camera and like scan your fridge and say, this is what I have in my fridge. Tell me what I could make for supper. Right? And so it can do.
Have you tried it?
I did try it once with my pantry, and I said, this is my pantry. It's a mess. What should I do to clean it up instead of what should I make for dinner? And it did. It gave me, and I said, and you got to give me it in bite-sized chunks because I don't feel like doing all the cleaning at once. And it started saying, okay, first you're going to do this, then you're going to do this. And it said, I noticed you have these on this part of your pantry and this. Like, it was able to tell a whole lot.
So what is it not automating then?
I mean, it's not automating personal interaction. That's
Right.
what it can't automate. And it can't, actually, I'm amazed how well it can approximate it even at this point. Like, is it perfect? No. But like, I have my AI set to talk in a tone that works for me. So it's kind of, it's cheeky, it's sarcastic. Jackie was laughing yesterday reading its responses to me because I said, be a straight shooter, tell me like it is, don't sugarcoat it, and be cynical. I think it's supposed to be cynical. So that's what it does when it talks to me. And so it does sound like a person talking to you, but it sounds like a politically correct person talking to you a lot of times. So it can't quite sound like a buddy that you're sitting with yet, and it can't quite have those meaningful interactions. It tries, but it's a computer, so it can't empathize very well or sympathize.
But I mean, in terms of our day-to-day lives, never mind our careers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just think of any tasks that you have to do that you don't really want to do. I guess aside from washing your floor or vacuuming, that it can't at least help you. I mean, it'll help you find a better vacuum, maybe.
Yeah, even with cleaning up or something, you can say, I need to clean up this area. Give me a strategy for how to do it. What do I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it'll give you step-by-step instructions. So even, it won't do it for you, darn it, but it will at least give you the instructions. I guess you could hire or get a robot then to do it for you if you really want to.
So we're nearing the end of this rather tumultuous year that I'm sure has had a lot of wake-up call for a lot of people. And what piece of advice, Erin, career advice, would you have for professionals going into 2026?
Don't live in fear, I would think, would be the biggest message. Don't live in fear of technology. Don't live in fear of trying something new. Don't live in fear that there aren't going to be any jobs in the next few years. So many people live in a place of, I just have to get any job. I need a paycheck. And I get it. We all need a paycheck. But when you live it from a place of fear, that's more of a mindset of scarcity instead of a mindset of abundance. But it's also a mindset of not being willing to try when you're living in fear. And if you do live in fear, don't be afraid to walk towards your fears instead of away from those fears.
Totally.
Try something every day that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, great advice. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the most exciting times in history to be in the job market. And, when we've got, I don't know, 30-40% of jobs in 2030 that are going to have been automated away, professional jobs, what no one's talking about are the millions of jobs that are about to be created. This is one of the best times in history to actually have your own role created with a brand new title that is serving a pain point, solving a problem for somebody that maybe they didn't even realize that they needed, or you didn't realize that you could solve, and have the most amazing roles created for you. But to do that, you just have to get out of your own way and learn to do things a little bit differently. And believe it or not, there's life after change, and it's better, it's more exciting. The career pivots I think that we've both seen, and when I say career pivot, it could mean like a 10% pivot where you're just moving to a different industry, same job, or a complete 100% pivot where you're completely changing professions. But either way, and I think you would agree with me, you do not need to upskill, reskill, go back to school, get another certificate in order to successfully land those jobs. You just have to know how to brand and package yourself and know what your value is, and your transferable value and impact that you will have in a job or in a career that you've never done before. And if you can effectively communicate that, let me tell you, the world's your oyster, and more pivots are at your fingertips than you ever imagined possible, and so are your dream jobs.
Unless you want to be a doctor, then I would appreciate you going back to school to do that before you come operate on me. But, there are your exceptions, but the vast majority of jobs in the business world, you don't need extensive schooling. I'm actually so curious as to what's going to happen to the education system in general over the next decade. My daughter is in grade 7, and so it'll be interesting to see as she gets ready for post-secondary in a few years. Is it necessary? What does it look like? How has it changed?
Well, you were kind of a digital native in our time, teaching, sort of leading the way with technology and showing people how to use different kinds of applications. What are you seeing with your daughter now, moving into the 7th grade? And are you learning anything from her?
Some of the stuff that they can do is amazing. It's also just more natural and ingrained. It's not as foreign for them. But one thing that I'm concerned about actually at this point is the fact that at least in her school system, they're teaching that AI is a complete no-no. And it's cheating to use AI. Just like at one point it was cheating to use Google, and now it's not cheating to use Google to help you do it. Now, and it depends. I've heard of school systems where they're actually embracing AI more and including it, but in her situation, she gets upset if I even suggest asking chat to give her a hand with just understanding a topic more. So I hope that that'll change, but I have noticed, and in talking to a lot of other parents, that a lot of kids view AI as something scary and evil. So
what is your perspective on that, honestly?
I don't view it as something scary and evil. And I understand why the teachers don't want them to cheat. What's funny is she said, I can tell Mom that almost all the quizzes and exams are AI generated. So the teachers are using AI to create the content, and good for them. Saves them time. Why not create a quiz using AI? But then why are you teaching that message to the kids that they can't use it?
But do you not see it as an inevitability?
Yeah.
AI is not going to go away,
No.
is it?
And that's what's so silly. It's like not teaching your kid about the birds and the bees. They're going to need it at some point anyway. They're going to need to understand it. They're going to be in the AI world. So she is exposed to AI a decent amount because I use it at work and I use it sometimes in my personal life too. And so she's exposed to it, but it's just interesting that generation, and I've talked to parents who have older teenagers, and it's the same idea. They're really being taught that AI is not something that they should embrace at the very least.
Well, and I wonder if that's behind, what's just happened in Australia and some of these other countries that are looking to ban the use of what is it, AI or technology or the use of the internet, is it?
Social media.
Social media before 16.
Social media is different than AI, and I mean, I get it. You have to protect your kids. I actually find that chat, as an example, will not let you cross a lot of barriers or boundaries. You can ask it a lot of questions, it won't answer. It will not say anything really off color. That said, I did have someone say that, or there was an article about someone who committed suicide because chat told them to. So you do have to be careful with it. And I do know that one of her little friends uses AI a lot and almost views it as a friend of theirs. Like, so there is a line, and their brains aren't fully developed. So I get the worry, I get the concern.
But you can't afford not. Well, what is the risk of not at least understanding how to leverage it as in your career as a professional?
In this day and age, like for professionals out there as adults, if you don't know how AI works, you could get slammed in an interview for sure. Like, they might not hire you if you don't have that knowledge, which is why it's so important to at least get a foundation. But also, you're not going to stay relevant, and things are changing so fast. If this many jobs are going to be eliminated by AI by 2030, like 40-50% of jobs, and it's not even always that the whole job will be eliminated. It could be chunks of the job are being eliminated, and you're going to be expected to do new things. They're not going to let you work a 30-40% day and just sit there twiddling your thumbs the rest of the time. They're going to expect you to do new things, and a lot of that is going to involve technology, especially AI. So you're setting yourself up for longer term career insecurity.
Well said. All right, anything else before we call it a day?
I don't think so.
All right, everyone, it has been wonderful to chat with you again today. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.